Hey guys, it's Celine again. It is today, Thursday, the 27th of March 2025, and I have been in a sort of a debate with myself, what to share exactly at this point, because I do have a couple of things that I think are really interesting to talk about in this way, shape, and form, where it's not the same as what I've been sharing on Facebook or with other people in all sorts of other ways. I have been doing quite a bit of drawing recently. There's a whole sort of a Pandora's box of endless happiness that's opened up with drawing with color pencils again. I have talked about this in my previous couple of videos, that it just was something I really needed to get back to and to get going with. And so I've been on a little holiday with husband, which was great fun and very exciting in some ways, and very interesting and different in all sorts of ways. And I've actually taken which was what I planned to do, and I actually did it. I brought my color pencils in the shape and form that I could easily carry around with me, and I have been doing some drawing over there. And I also brought just little torn pieces of paper, or leftover bits and pieces like that, and using those. And it is a completely new for me sense of coming home to myself. I don't think I can actually express it in words very easily, how intensely grateful I am that I was sort of clever enough to listen to this, you know, incentive that came from inside, this motivation that came from inside to make, a set of color pencils. I have loads of color pencils, but most of it is in bags and in, carrying containers is the word I was looking for. Um, it's too big to take along, and it's too much. There's too many types of, too many brands. I have everything. I don't own every single color pencil there is in the world, but I might as well. I actually get overwhelmed from my own collection of color pencils, it turns out. So I don't think as much now, after a month or two of getting back into drawing and just generally pushing everything to the side that is in the way of that. I actually have made a couple of small, cute drawings and shared them on Facebook, and people like the combination, especially if I put them together with tarot cards. That works, for people as well, and it works for me as well. And I don't go into a lot of detail on there, why this card or why this drawing or anything. I just let people sort of figure that out for themselves if they want to. But um, the drawing thing has been so powerful for me that I actually went to the thrift store before leaving on holiday. So, like, 2 weeks ago or so. Went back to the thrift store over here in my village, which is like half an hour's easy walk away. And I got myself a massive unused photo album, which I often do to have as like a journaling space. And I pasted in mostly recent drawings of mine, and also a couple of older ones. And maybe I will show it at one point, but yeah, it's not really, this is not really an art channel. I suppose it's very confusing for people to watch what it is that I'm actually really up to, what I'm doing here. um, so maybe I will show it, because I have been really very much a fan of this whole process. And I also pasted in the little drawings I made on my holiday, and then I have these massive big pages with a couple of little drawings on, and I have things that are going on in my mind, or things that I encounter on the internet as I go about my day or whatever else. And so I write in quotes, and I write in descriptions or memories or things of the. So it's becoming this photo album is actually becoming this whole art journal kind of an experience, and I have never had this in my life. this consistent, this level of how am I'm not saying it right. I have never had this consistent a type of a art journaling or drawing plus journaling kind of an experience before in my life. So it's incredible. And even up to the point where my husband was, took out a piece of paper and started doodling as well for himself. And he's been doing little tiny efforts because he's traumatized because his mother was an artist and he grew up with a lot of artists and everybody had opinions about everything back in those days. And so he decided when he was, 12 or so, that he couldn't draw possibly. And he wants to as well, just as much as I do. And I have been so grateful to just sit on the couch with my pencils and just go like that and have him sitting right there and doing his own thing with it and drawing a little house with, little chairs and mountains. He just, we're together in it now, finally. So this is like an illustration. This whole drawing experience is like an illustration of everything else that's been going on. And it feels incredibly like everything I've worked on, and that a lot of which you can, sort of, that I've documented on my YouTube channel if you want to know about it, to get back into a state of self-awareness in my life, a state of where healing is possible, where I can actually feel connected to my own emotions. That is actually coming together now. I'm actually here to tell you that it has worked. All the different bits and pieces that I have been working on over the past, 5 years or so, 6-7 years, actually longer than that, depending on how far back you want to go and what you want to look at. I find now that it actually worked, but not one single method or not one single event created healing for me. And I do still feel rather different than I'm used to, and it will still take a lot of filling out. And as I say it, I feel like I'm trying to protect myself from having thoughts on this, I was never this free in my life, and it's kind of scary and weird, and it's very easy to overthink it all, and especially if you're trying to put it into words, it's not so easy, right? So if you're wondering what it is that I am referring to when I say healing methods and practices and all that, I ask you please to go check out my channel, because there's loads of different themes, videos that I have done at one point or another, from the beginning really, where I have used tarot, I have used Kundalini yoga regularly still. That is my go-to default healing energy to work with. I have used mantras, I have used creative work, you name it, I've tried it, and I've tried to put it all together. Herbs as well, witchcraft, it's all my bag, really. I've got a huge bag. And I'm taking out all the trauma and putting in all the good tools. So then, yeah, so that is what's happening. So, let me get my newest book, okay, because that is actually my sort of a cool point that I came to actually want to talk about today. I have had some interesting spiritual experiences as well. This is the book, The Orphic Hymns Grimoire by Sarah Mastros. let me see if I can show you a page that you could, if you want, screenshot or whatever, to acquire this for yourself. If this is your jam, I'm going to go like this for a second. The Orphic hymns are, for me, part of a long and deep database of spiritual text, spiritual material that for me kind of all belongs historically in a period that I'm really drawn towards. So not only Greek text for me, or not only Egyptian or Coptic or what's that called, Gnostic, but a little of everything is apparently what I am interested in. So I do have quite a bit of printouts, from the internet of for example, the Nag Hammadi library texts, which is, Gnosticism, a lot of it, most of it. So it veers towards what we tend to call Christianity nowadays, Christian faith or Christian mysticism. But there's also texts in there that are somehow very distinct from the Christian approach. I'm just fascinated by all that stuff. The Orphic hymns, this is definitely not in any way, shape or form connected to Christianity and to Christian, to Christian mysticism, or the view of divinity is different. Why I'm showing you this is that, okay, so this has a number of texts, and the great thing about this particular edition by Sarah Mastros is that it has a few, quite a few actually, rituals as well. So that's why it's called a grimoire. It's not just the Orphic hymns in a translation. It is her own translation, which I think is amazing. And there was a translation which I have printed out from the internet, just like a whole lot of the other things. And for some reason, the traditional translation that has been given most of the time, it was sort of making me interested and drawing me into it, and somehow nothing really happened, because the text was given as a pure academic translation. And that is what's so great about this particular book, and this person who made this, she's an academic as well as a practicing pagan, let me put it that way. So she is interested in this from the perspective of having the right translation, or the right references from other texts that are maybe relevant or interesting to a particular piece, and all that. But she also, at the same time, is interested in using them and finding what it really does today. How can this material help us today? It turns out it can. And I am just beyond blown away, because so there's a lot of different sort of poems in here. It looks inside quite a bit like this often, where it says Pluton, the rich one. So Pluton is Hades, right? The lord of the underworld. And it says, "O strong-minded one who dwells down below in a deep-shaded glen, black Stygian meadow. O underworld Zeus, from your throne of black gneiss, throw open your arms and receive sacrifice." So that was rhyming. She sometimes rhymes, sometimes she doesn't, I think. Just as a little example. They're originally in Greek, and classical Greek, that is. And they're very powerful, And I've always liked this a lot. I've been to Greece one time, I think, Athens and Delphi, blessed memory, beautiful, in 2011, so that's like ages, way too long ago. I've been to Cyprus as well one time. I haven't been where this comes from that much. And where we were in Macedonia, did I say that already? No, I don't think so. We spent a week in southern, what used to be called Yugoslavia, last week. And I brought this along to read and to do a little deep diving in some of her ritual descriptions and suggestions and so on, and some of her background bits. She's really serious about this, and there's drawings as well, like this one, for example. Some of them are like not safe for work kind of drawings, so you have to be aware of that. And this is Demeter, the grain goddess, grain mother of Elefsina, it says here. So there's a sigil. They're given as sigils for each of the spirits or gods that are invoked here. This is material that is not normally considered, I would say, religious anymore now. And she has managed, Sarah Mastros has managed to convince me by actually a sort of a combination of events happening that this is actually still active material. It's still magical material. And I'm kind of scared and kind of really deeply impressed. And like, how can you not love this? You know, it's incredible. This is the hymn that we went into with my husband. It's the hymn to Protogonos. If you're into this kind of stuff, you will be interested by now, and you will have Googled the book and you will do your own thing with this. Why I am actually trying to talk about this now is that in a ritual, let's call it a ritual for lack of a better word. I don't even know how to say it. It's like a healing treatment, but it's also a ritual. For my husband, last Saturday, so 5 days ago, we have used the Protogonos hymn, okay? An important role was played by a blood coral fossil, so like a little disc of red stone that's actually a fossil blood coral, really powerful stone. Abramelin oil, which you can Google, is quite a powerful, I call that a dimension opener, you know, where you're suddenly, your crown chakra is activated and things like that. So it gives you a real sense of the power of spirit, is what I think happens with Abramelin. Different era, nothing to do with Orphic grimoire, you know, nothing to do with crystals or what. The fourth element, and I hope I'm not going to offend anybody or hurt anybody by saying this, was one of these. And this is oil, fragrant oil, that they sell in a lot of the chapels and churches in Macedonia, where they practice Greek Orthodox faith, Christian faith, that is. This is oil that is consecrated in their Christian context. This is the first time I've ever used anything like this. Also, I am used to Roman Catholic in one way or another surroundings in the place where I live, in the south of the Netherlands, in Belgium and France and so on, where we visit churches often. But you cannot, in the Roman Catholic faith, obtain holy oil. I don't think it's possible. They don't sell it. In the Greek Orthodox places, and certainly in Macedonia, they sell these all over the place. And I have seen them also in an actual shop that was in the center of town, where we were that was not a church, so not a consecrated place at all, just a shop that sold incense and candles. So it was a teeny tiny shop, and it was very directed towards the needs of the people going to actually burn candles at home, and probably it was just their supply shop for, the altar that they have at home with the icons, the painted saints, and all that. So I'm amazed, and I feel I'm so grateful for this in our experience with this. I was gonna say in my toolkit, but that sounds kind of disrespectful. Because it's not just, this has also a lot of people that are connected to this kind of a flask with a saint on it. This is Sveti Naum over there. It has his picture on it, and this is a monastery that we visited on the final day last Sunday, and we have two more from a different chapel. It's the same oil. It turns out that they're made according to Wikipedia, if that's what I'm supposed to believe, they are made in Athens, actually. This oil in large quantities and then distributed somehow throughout, which is completely different from the Roman Catholic holy oil, which is used in a very different way. So I am fascinated. There's Wikipedia pages on the Chrism and all those kinds of oils that are used, and it is sort of partly the same thing, and it's not like abramelin. But if you look up the formula in Exodus in the Bible for the fragrant components that goes into this oil, there's cassia, cinnamon, myrrh, and fragrant cane oil, which is calmus, which is the components of abramelin. I'm not kidding. So all this comes together. The expression or the feeling that we get from the presence from the abramelin oil and from this is completely different. There's no compare. It just doesn't figure in any way. So this is I am just kind of really all over the place excited by how powerful of a combination it was, and that it is actually possible in this way to combine these elements, and that I am really grateful that I have a chance to incorporate this this holy oil, into this, what to all intents and purposes is a pagan healing ritual that we were doing. Does it make any sense? Yes, it makes sense if it is all about love. Then it makes sense. It's the only way it can all make sense. And I think that applies to my life and to the world at large as well. So this all suddenly became, really personal and emotional, as usual with me. If I'm making any sense, it's because it's emotional. I should figure that out by now. It is possible to use this, to incorporate it, not use it. You cannot make it do anything that it isn't made to do. It has a nature. This oil has a different nature than the abramelin oil. The abramelin oil wasn't consecrated. It doesn't have. I am not such a big supporter of priesthoods in general, because I am a witch, and I don't think that we witches are very popular in regulated, religion, in those kinds of practices. It's a very difficult thing, really. I've been worrying and trying to fight with myself over how to talk about this, about the combination of the Orphic hymns and the Sveti Jovan Caneo oil, Chrism, in the same operation, the same healing vibe. It it worked. It was, you know, my husband was really happy with the results, and there's been a change. It's been a healing process that's been happening for him that gave him more of a connection to life in a way that he hasn't felt before, just like me, actually. It's a different approach, but it's that result. We're looking for life to happen to us, to experience life in all its forms, also emotionally. So, especially emotionally and viscerally, you know, and hence the blood coral as well, because that was also really powerful for the whole underbelly connection, and that's where protogonos comes in as well. I don't want to describe the whole thing because it doesn't really make any sense to anybody else. It's this kind of thing that just happens all of a sudden, and we were talking about it, and then I just went and grabbed the things and shoved him the protagonist hymn under his eyes, and he read it a couple of times, and I was just waving my hands about, kind of. So, happy days, really good. And I'm gonna sign off here. I'm gonna make myself a cup of tea, and maybe watch telly for a bit. It'll also probably be time for chopping up of tomatoes. Okay. Thank you for watching. If this was any use to you, I really hope that I'm not offending anybody who is deeply, devoutly religious. You know, I am not interested in claiming anything. I just bought a bottle. It was sold to me, and I could incorporate it in something that was good and beautiful. That's all there is to it. So that's what I believe. So yeah. So it's probably cultural appropriation. Yeah. But that happens every day, a lot of the time. And I'm not taking anything, it was sold to me. So yeah. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this was interesting, at least. I'm just grateful and all over the place with, you know, sunshine and beads and alive, you know. So blessed be, and see you again next time. Okay, ciao for now.